This is a low budget production, and I probably sound like I'm in the background with an echo. That's okay, who cares? Can you hear me? Good, good enough. Now, I'm not a young, pretty female, so I'm not going to show my face because only young, pretty females get the million views. You guys, I tell you what. Anyway, and the reason for that is because our society is vain and we're full of vanity. And so a baby boomer, gray haired, kind of wrinkledy white male like me, yeah, I'd probably be drummed off YouTube simply from that description if I showed my face. So I'm showing something better, something that demonstrates another form of vanity, and that is Genesis chapter 3. Did you know that Satan was the first woke theologian? And Satan was the first Gnostic. And if you don't know what a Gnostic is, look it up on Wikipedia, because I don't have time to explain it. But he was the first woke theologian. Now, what's a woke theologian? A woke theologian is it's a theologian that subscribes to modern critical race theory and modern social justice theory. The idea that the most virtuous thing in Christianity has to be diversity, equity, and inclusion. Boy, inclusion's a really dangerous one because that would include those who are in full-blown rebellion against God and His design and creation. That means they are committing all kinds of evil fornication, evil adultery, evil acts, and yet inclusion doctrine says they have to be included in everything, basically, in church, in becoming pastors and ministers and all of that. It's a very dangerous doctrine. But who was the first one to present woke theology? It was Satan. Watch. Look at verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, meaning he was a con artist. He was a serpent. He was a snake, as Christ called the Pharisees. He was a smooth talker, and he could con you into things. He's the guy that calls you up on the phone and says, your social security number's been suspended. You need to give me all your personal information. Or this is the IRS and you owe us money and you need to give us your personal information and you need to send us money. And you're going, well, that sounds an awful lot like a distinct Indian accent. Indian in the sense of India. And where are you calling from? New Delhi? Anyway, yeah, that's the kind of person Satan was. He's going to swindle you. Now, Satan was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, now the serpent was either possessed by Satan or it was just a term used to represent Satan. Yea, had God said, the first thing Satan uses against Eve is skepticism. Notice that. Satan uses skepticism quite often. I'll do a different video on why that is an issue because basically he's denying what God said. He's skeptical about God's divine revelation, and that's the same thing that goes on today. Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. Well, he misstated what God said. He added to what God said. God didn't say that. When you go back to Genesis chapter 2, verse 17, God said, ye shall not eat of the garden that's in the midst of the tree. And Eve corrects him, and the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, she got that part right. God has said you should not eat of it. There should be a period right there because that's where she should have stopped. She didn't. She kept going and she said, neither shall you touch it lest you die. Uh-oh. That's not what God said. He didn't say anything about touching it. He said, don't eat of it. She added, ye shall not touch it. And Satan says, right there, I've got her. I've got her. Hook, line, and sinker. She doesn't know what God said. She added to what God said. She caught my taking away from what God said or altering what God said, but she added to what God said. I've got her now. Watch his slick response. And the serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die. What he's saying is, look, Eve, that doctrine that God gave you, nah. Listen to me, Eve. Listen to my doctrine. You won't surely die. You got to be woke, Eve. You got to be woke because, you see, you're not woke right now. You're blind to the real truth. You're blind to the secret knowledge, and this is what makes him the first Gnostic. You're blind to the secret knowledge that only I can reveal to you, Eve. And in verse 5, for God doth know in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened. That is the first statement of woke theology ever spoken. Satan is the father of woke theology, which makes woke theology satanic. And ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. There's two things here. Number one, Eve, you're not woke. You need to be woke. I can open your eyes to the wokeness, Eve. I can open your eyes to the real truth. That God has not revealed to you, that God has hidden from you. See, I can make you woke, Eve. Your eyes need to be open. The second thing he created in Eve was dissatisfaction. Look, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. In other words, Eve, are you really satisfied being Adam's helpmeet? Adam's helper? Are you really satisfied with that position, Eve? No, come on, Eve. You can do better than that. See, Satan was also the first motivational speaker. Come on, Eve, you can do better than that. Eve, you can do better than the position you're in. You can really rise up and be somebody, Eve. You can be as a god, Eve. You can do this, Eve. Come on, Eve. So Satan was the first Gnostic, secret knowledge. The first woke theologian, oh, your eyes can be opened, and the first motivational speaker. You could be as gods. And he was lying through the whole thing, knowing good and evil. Satan is the first woke theologian. So all of you woke advocates out there in the church, in Southern Baptist Convention, all of you woke theologians, you're in bad company. Satan is Satan is the source of your theology. I had to choose my words carefully there. Satan is the source of your theology. So why should I, or any other Christian who holds to the true Orthodox historic Christian faith, give you the time of day? I'll be waiting for an answer to that question. This is a low production video, and I'm signing off. Everybody have a great one. God bless.